Hello and welcome to coverage of Grand Prix Richmond. I'm Marshall Sutcliffe in the booth with Paul Cheon. We've got Andrew Longo versus Trevor Mensinger down there, and looks like they're just about ready to go. Andrew is he's a champ of sorts. He won a team limited GP. That was Grand Prix Providence back in 2013 with Eric Phillips and Eric Berger. So that was I remember that. I was covering that tournament back then, and he was the third member of that
I
team.
remember day two going very long.
It did. Oh, it went very long.
Like 2 in the morning, like 1 in the morning or something like that.
Oh, you're totally right. I remember that now. That one did go forever. That was actually when they were first bringing back team events, and they had a different structure at that time. They have since adjusted to make it so those days don't go quite
Turns out drafting 4 times in a day takes a lot of time.
It does, yes. So now we draft once. Doom Dissenter on turn 2 from Andrew Longo. Wow. Though it looks like he is going to go ahead and get rid of it. And this is a really powerful start here from Andrew. He's just putting out, actually looks like Doom Dissenters on both sides of the battlefield, but a Channeler Initiate there from him is just going to be a straight up 3-4 for 2 mana here.
Yeah, turn 2, 2-2 into turn 3, 3-4. He's not going to be able to get kind of the ramp effect of the Channeler Initiate, but Andrew choosing to kind of be a little more aggressive there because, of course, you can just choose to put the counters on the Initiate and use it for mana for a few turns and then attack at some point later on in the game. So this is actually a start you can actually get with a common combination. If Andrew Longo had something just like an ordinary Kudu, he could have done the exact same thing. Turn 2, 2-2, turn 3, 3-4.
Interesting as well here from Andrew's perspective. Doesn't necessarily want to just attack into this board here. There is an available double block that still leaves Trevor with a 2-2 left over and the Channeler Initiate gone.
Yeah, it almost feels like Andrew's just kind of wishing there were some counters on the Initiate here so that he can kind of maybe ramp into bigger creatures, something like a Colossopede or something like that.
Right. Now, the zombie could certainly get in there, and if he wants, he could just chip in with both and sort of clear up the board a little bit here as well. So lots of options for Andrew.
Wow.
He's going to go for a Cartouche of Ambition, I believe.
Right.
It's underneath the Channeler Initiate, but that's a big deal here. Yeah, that's not a counter. It just gets +1/+1. But it does get +1/+1, and, of course, lifelink as well. And this has really opened up the doors for a nice attack from Andrew Longo.
Yeah, Trevor likely is just going to chump block here with the Doom Dissenter, as he doesn't have a good double block anymore. And that's the thing, too. There's a ton of combat tricks in this format. Even if you're black-green, you have cards like Supernatural Stamina, Spidery Grasp. So, there's a ton of combat tricks. So, yeah, Andrew could have just attacked and just see what Trevor does.
Yeah, I think that Trevor probably would have gone for the double block.
He probably would have, but...
And I think Andrew read that situation like, you're just going to block.
Yeah.
All right, well, Trevor's going to chip in there for a couple of points of damage and then play Gustwalker as his follow-up play. It looks like the black-white deck here for Trevor is leaning a little bit towards the aggressive end of things.
Yeah.
See the Gustwalker here. We see the Minotaur. These are, evasive threats that can get in for damage, and it looks like that's what his overall game plan is.
And I think that's kind of generally the plan for the white-black decks. You kind of have all these 2-mana utility kind of mummies or zombies in your deck that allow you to push through damage. You have Binding Mummy, of course, and anytime you play a zombie, you can tap a creature.
Which has turned out to be very impressive, by the way.
Yeah, it's definitely overperformed. It's not really good outside of kind of the white-black deck because often you're just not going to have a lot of zombies. But if every turn you can just tap something down, it's a great creature. And kind of what the strategy for these decks end up being is, you draft all your zombies, your synergy cards, and then you just kind of try to go wide and win with cards like Inoketra's Name. Right. It's a huge effect if all your creatures get +2/+1 instead of just, of course, the +1/+1.
Yeah. Now, since we're in sealed deck, these players aren't going to have the opportunity to craft a finely tuned version of, let's say, the black-white zombies deck that you've been describing. So you will see some cards like Gustwalker sneak into the list because they're just a good aggressive 2-drop, even if they don't have particular synergies with the rest of the deck.
Yeah, I think Gustwalker is one of those. It's just a premium common.
Yeah.
So
just a good card.
If you're going to be white, I think it's going to be really hard for me to justify cutting that card from any of my decks.
Agreed.
It's just such efficient creature. It's just a bear in the early game, and then at some point in the late game, it'll fly over and attack for 3. It's a 2-mana 3/3 flyer.
Yeah.
It's been very, very pushed.
Agreed. It's a good card. Andrew's curving out nicely, though, and his side of the battlefield, black-green, tends to be really what you're seeing here. There's some -1/-1 counter synergies that you will see pop up. Last turn, he played Ornery Kudu and a Bitterblade Warrior, both in the same turn. But you'll also just see them kind of go big. You mentioned Colossopede a minute ago. That's the kind of card that is just bigger. You know, like we used to joke on the podcast that it has keyword big. Right? Like it doesn't have any actual keywords other than just power and toughness.
Right.
But it just somehow is bigger than everything else when it comes down on the battlefield.
Yeah, a lot of that has to do kind of with relative sizing. Just 5-mana 5/5 in most formats is going to be bigger than, you know, a lot of other things that you see. And in this format, you have a lot of small creatures with Exert, so it kind of incentivizes people to attack. And Colossopede actually does a good job of blocking a lot of these Exert creatures as well.
Yeah.
It gets in the way of kind of, you know, the Red Crop Spearmaster.
Yep.
Not so much the Bitterblade Warrior because it does have the Death Touch, but yeah.
We see from Trevor, by the way, he played a start to finish there on end step. So he's played the start half of that. That's going to give him 2 of the 1/1 white warrior creature tokens with vigilance. We see quite a few of those from different cards in the format. In the meantime, though, Andrew on his turn had cast a Baleful Amit. He put the counter elsewhere, so he's got a pretty big lifelinker here. This thing is a major threat. Now,
he's got 2 big lifelinkers, actually.
He does actually have 2 big lifelinkers. That's true. So he's got 3 big creatures. 2 of them have lifelink. It is going to make life very difficult for Trevor to actually race, though. The question is, does Andrew have attacks here? Because, you know, Trevor can still use his board to help trade off and mitigate some of the attacks from Andrew.
Yeah, I think Andrew wants to be aggressive here and try to get as many creatures off the board if possible, so Trevor can't use the finish half.
To good effect.
Yeah, to good effect. And Andrew putting those counters on the Channel Initiate is pretty great here because he can just get those off whenever he wants.
Yeah.
But now that he knows that the Channel Initiate is in danger because of the finish in the graveyard, I think an attack with all might actually just be plausible here. Although Baleful Amit trading for a Cursed Minotaur is not really something
sucks.
you want.
Yeah, I mean, he almost might rather have it just trade off for the finish. The other thing that we have to note here from Trevor's perspective, even if his board were to get traded off, he's got a Cradle of the Accursed sitting down there as well, so he does have a creature he could throw at something huge. You know,
Yeah.
think a Sandworm or something like that.
Yeah, so look, it looks like Andrew's attacking with just the 2 creatures on the left.
Yeah, he's just shipping in there with a Baleful Amit. That seems
Yeah.
to be the obvious block. The question is, does he want to throw his other creatures in front of the Ornery Kudu or just take 3? And taking 3 seems like the more conservative and correct route. You risk a major blowout otherwise.
Yeah, I think Trevor definitely made the correct blocks here.
Yeah, he would just have to trade off his entire board in that scenario.
Channeler Initiate doing so much work.
Wow. So Naga Vitalist, not really a big play here, but you mentioned it, a second copy of Ornery Kudu. And once again, what Andrew is doing here is just putting all the counters on the Initiate because he can just tap it for mana at any time to remove those counters. They're
Right.
just disappearing.
Yep.
So he gets to play 3/4s for 3 mana left and right.
Oh, wow. That Naga Vitalist actually doing something
Wow.
here. Because Andrew has 3 real creatures on the board. Naga Vitalist wasn't one of them.
Yeah, that was a trial of ambition from Trevor, forcing Andrew to sacrifice a creature. And like you said, the Naga Vitalist, which we kind of scoffed at last turn because it doesn't really do a whole lot on this board, just all of a sudden got pretty important.
Yeah. And if you note, if you look at Trevor's board, his creature's not very good at blocking. Not a lot of toughness. There might be some chump blocks here. Trevor might even consider a double block here just to kind of get one of these large monsters off the board.
It does feel like he needs to do something about it, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Remember, he does have Finish in his graveyard for Aftermath as well that he could cast to take down something, but...
Ooh.
Whoa, was that chump
I think he chumped with everything.
trade?
Or either that or he took 6. I'm not really sure what he did with the tokens. I think I would have at least left one of the tokens alive.
That was a 3/4 Channeler Initiate, though, right? It had a -1/-1 counter, but it was also getting +1/+1.
Well, he attacked with it, right?
Yeah.
Oh.
All right.
Okay.
Well, it looks like it was trades all around, leaving Trevor with no board.
Yeah.
Wow. Are we going to see Dust to Dawn from him or something?
That would be one of the best ones. That would be just
It would be a
completely absurd.
devastating play, but he doesn't have it. Wow, he didn't even use his Cradle either.
Does he have maybe a Vizier of Deferment? Okay. Splendid Agony.
Splendid Agony is going to keep him alive, but barely. He's going to drop down to 4 life here. And this has really gotten out of hand from Trevor's perspective.
Yeah.
He is nearly dead on board. He can use his cradle to make a chump blocker and go to 1, but he needs help. And lots of it.
All right, so he's opting to make a zombie here, but he needs... I guess he's at 4 life, so he can choose to chump and go to 1, but
Yeah.
it's definitely not
Not a good
a
spot.
winning spot.
Oh, that was a Crocodile of the Crossing off the top for Andrew Longo. And that could just be Crocodile of the Game. There we go.
Yeah, I imagine
Ship
you're just
'em.
going to spread out the power here and put it on the Crocodile. And
Yeah, that's going to earn Andrew Longo the victory. So we saw here, Paul, what I expect how this matchup would go, which is the slightly smaller version in Trevor's deck of the black-white deck being outclassed in the mid to late game by the bigger green-black version of the deck here from Andrew Longo.
Yeah, I think just in general, especially in sealed deck, you're going to just consistently get green-black decks that kind of look the same. You're going to have a mix of cheap cards, but then you're just going to be able to go over the top with, of course, your large green monsters. You have your crocodiles, you have your scaled behemoths, you have your colossopeds and your sandworms, right?
Yeah.
Whereas the black-white deck, what do you have at the top of the curve, right?
2/2s and stuff like that.
The
yeah.
reason why the black-white deck is so successful in draft is you just draft this highly synergistic deck with a good mana curve and, of course, Inno Catcher's Name to go over the top. But that's a lot harder to pull off in sealed deck.
That's right. And we did see that here. We'll see if the players have any way to adjust, and we'll be back with Game 2 right after these messages. Here at Grand Prix Richmond. I'm Marshall Sutcliffe in the booth with Paul Cheon. Paul and I have been having many conversations about this format, and we get our chance to see it in the hands at a professional level event here on the weekend. Very exciting stuff to see how things shake out. Yeah. And we're starting things off, at least our tournament. Of course, JVL and Maria were in for last round here with Andrew Longo versus Trevor Mensinger. And Andrew pretty handily winning that first game. One of the things that we talked about at the end of it was that his deck tends to go slightly bigger in the mid to late game. But the other thing that we didn't mention was the power of Cartouche of Ambition in that game. That gained him 6 life, 8 life, same thing with the Baleful Amit. And that gave him a really big life cushion where cards like like Gustwalker, like you talked about, being able to power through in the late game and just get those last few points of damage just weren't relevant.
Yeah, if you don't have any removal, the Cartouche of Ambition will just take over the game. It's just so hard to beat. And it looks like Trevor is just...
He switched up.
different deck number 2.
Wow, he was black-white in game 1. Now he's green-red with a Naga Vitalist to start things off. This could be a really good change. Like if he has a similar power level deck,
yeah,
it could be really good for him.
Yeah, Seal deck is great.
He's going to play a Manglehorn after getting in for an attack.
Yeah.
So an unexciting Manglehorn. It's just going to be, we call that a Grey Ogre. It's just a 2/2 for 3 mana and doesn't match up well against a lot of the cards in the format. Like, for example, an Ornery Kudu, even with the counter on it. But he is at least putting some pressure on the battlefield, maybe a way to use some combat tricks or something like that.
Yeah, there are formats where Manglehorn would have been an all-star. Unfortunately, I don't think this is the format for that. For example, in Aether Revolt, it would have been just a great high pick. But in this format, there really aren't a lot of artifacts that you can actually kill. The one that you'll see most often in Sealed would be the Edifice of Authority, which is incredibly powerful. And if I saw that, I would probably look to bring in a Manglehorn. But in the dark, you're probably playing it more as a curve filler, if anything.
That's right. So Trevor showing a much more aggressive side here, although he only used up one of his mana for the turn. It was pretty effective. He played a Cartouche of Zeal on that Manglehorn, and now it's an angry Manglehorn. It's bigger, and of course it made it so that Andrew had no blocks whatsoever, so he actually got in for 4 damage last turn. And here's a Bone Picker now for Andrew Longo.
The sad full cost Bone Picker. Anytime you play this thing at a discounted rate, it feels like you're cheating. Just 1 mana 3/2 flying.
It does.
Touch.
It's insane. Yeah. And it's even pretty good at this. Right. Like, it always feels bad, but this is like a perfectly good card for 4 mana.
It's a great card.
Yeah.
It's a nice evasive creature, and then if your opponent plays like a Greater Sandworm, it trades with it.
Like, here's a question. Would you pay 5 mana for Bone Picker?
For
5 mana for 3/2 flying Death Touch, just straight up.
And not the cost reduction?
Yeah. The answer is yes.
Yes.
Like, you probably wouldn't be happy, but like, look at it.
Yeah.
Desert Ceradon, it's like LOL block, right? Like, you would definitely play it.
Yeah, and I would happily play it if it had, of course, had the 3 mana reduction cost.
Yes, totally.
Yeah, but Trevor basically deciding, all right, your creatures are gigantic. I'm going to shift gears and not try to beat you down with 2 mana 2/2s and try to go big. But that touch creature is going to basically shut everything down unless Trevor has a removal spell.
Yeah, it's going to force a trade at least, yeah. Now, there's one thing about the Bone Picker is that, you can tell that it was tweaked just right because it does die to most of the removal in the set, including Magma Spray and Splendid Agony. So it does end up dying a good portion of the time to those type of removal spells anyway.
And Andrew here deciding that a 2/3 isn't really going to be doing any relevant blocking, so he decided to put the counter from Ornery Kudu onto the one that already had a counter on it.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. He is facing down a 3/3 Manglehorn. Wow, Trevor with a much more aggressive deck here. Another Cartouche of Zeal, and he's going to make it so the Bone Picker can't block at all and jam with that Desert Ceradon.
And it's currently a 7/5, so Andrew can't even double block here.
Andrew's down to 5.
Wow.
Wow, that Bone Picker is really holding down the fort.
Yeah.
Because if that Bone Picker were to die, then the floodgates open up. But if it doesn't, Trevor actually does not have good attacks here. The Ornery Kudu can block the Manglehorn, and the Bone Picker can block the Desert Ceradon. Oh, here's an Honored Hydra now from Andrew Longo. We talked about the big picture game plan, and here it is.
Right.
Go big late.
And Andrew is definitely one of those situations where he just wants to trade. So if Trevor trades the Ceradon for the Hydra, it just comes back.
Yep.
He just gets additional value there. Wow.
And he has officially stabilized. Andrew Longo hanging on at 5 life. Now, Trevor is trying to counterpunch him by sideboarding into a deck that can also go big in the mid to late game, and he's done a pretty good job of it. But what we may see here, all right, here's a Cartouche of Ambition for Andrew Longo. He's going to keep that Ceradon in check here and allow him to start attacking for 4 in the air with lifelink.
And I do like this aggression because I think a lot of people in this spot, when your opponent passes with 5 mana up, might be scared that there might be either Magma Spray or Electrify on the Bone Picker. But if you really think about the situation here, Trevor didn't cast it on his turn to attack through that Bone Picker on his turn. So you have to basically put him on not having a removal spell there. So you can just fire out the cartouche and just start trying to get in with the flyers.
That's
Is that
right.
a second Bone Picker?
Yeah, this one's foil, though, so it's even better.
Wow,
It
Andrew's
deals
deck
foil
looks
damage.
like a great draft deck.
Agreed. I think his deck looks really solid here so far. We also see a mountain from Andrew Longo. Don't believe we've seen what he's splashing for yet, but we could expect something like an Electrify.
Yeah, that would be a commonly splash card.
Yep.
Perhaps a Merciless Javelineer.
Yep. That is
something.
one you see a lot, too, for sure. Deem Worthy also on the list.
Yes.
Okay, a Baleful Amit here, and things have really turned away from Trevor. He finds a Trial of Zeal to kill that pesky Bone Picker and stem the bleeding at least somewhat, and that should stabilize him again.
I know when he plays that Trial of Zeal, though, he's staring at the cartouche of Zeals in play. He's just like, why couldn't I have sequenced this differently?
Yeah, and that is interesting because that is, one of the things that I was going to mention before is that Trevor, we did see him kind of run out of steam there. And a lot of that is because of those trials. Here's Andrew Longo get in there. Excuse me, not trials. Because of those two cartouches. They had an immediate impact on the game, but it cost him a whole card to do that, and he kind of ran out of gas late as a result.
Yeah. And if you can see, I think this is kind of probably why Trevor chose...
This is a lethal attack, right?
Yeah. Let's see.
6,
3 in
9.
the air.
You're dead. What is he getting back here? Yeah, it looks like he's going to end up at 2 life after all is said
with
and
no
done.
creatures. He does not have Dusk as an out this time.
No, he certainly doesn't. And here comes back the Honored Hydra, putting Trevor in a desperate situation. He found himself in the same spot in game 1. He tried a completely different game plan, and so far it does not look like it's going to work out for him. He's got a pair of lands in hand, and he needs a miracle off the top here. He finds an Ornery Kudu instead. And he shows him 2 lands and extends the hand. Andrew Longo 2-0 and improving to 2-0 in the tournament as well. Trevor's going to take his first loss there. Looks like he's got 2 medium decks, right? Neither of them amazing, but both of them look perfectly playable and fine.
Yeah, I understand the thought process behind trying to go big.
Definitely.
Andrew just had kind of like the ideal black-green deck. Like, if I was just looking at kind of my best black-green decks that I've drafted, like what we've seen from Andrew's cards would have been very close to like one of your ideal decks. I think the only thing he might be lacking is removal. We haven't seen a lot of removal
That's
from his
right.
deck.
Yeah, that's a good point. Okay, let's take a look at Christopher McCord and Timothy Vannon here over on our side table. Looks like Timothy's the one who's up a game in this, and he's got his own copy of Baleful Amit, though it looks like the Amit has 2 counters on it, so it's not the most powerful possible. It looks like it has its own counter as well as one from a Cartouche of Ambition on the other side.
What do you think is being splashed on Christopher McCord's side?
Where am I looking here? So he's got a Kenra Charioteer with a thing, and then
With
green,
a Cartouche
green,
of
red,
Ambition.
black.
So we got to play the game.
I think that Kenra Charioteer probably is.
Okay.
Like, I bet you he's got that and like an Electrify or something like that. That's my
Okay.
guess. I'm going to look, by the way, if I can find the deck list here.
Yeah, but
No, I don't have it.
this will be a really big swing. If Chris does have some kind of removal spell,
Ooh,
yeah.
Samut.
When I first read this
Voice of
card,
Dissent. Yes, this card's absurd.
look at all the keywords.
It is a laundry list of awesome
It is
keywords.
keyword flooded.
It really is. When I first read this card was at my first pre-release when I opened one. And
Oh, was
yeah,
it?
because I had done the commons and uncommons review for the podcast, but I hadn't done the mythics and stuff yet. So
Right.
I had like maybe glanced at it, but this was the first time I like really looked at it. Like, what does this do again? I'm like,
It's,
wait,
it's
what?
basically just ground a chroma.
It has- yeah, it
but
really
for 5
is.
mana.
Yeah, I played
It
it.
is
I splashed
insane.
for it in a green black deck. I didn't even the white activated ability. I'm like, yeah, whatever.
Oh, you don't even need that. But the
No.
white ability is actually relevant,
is.
right?
It
if you're
is.
splashing Samut in your like white-green deck, you're going to have Exert creatures, right?
Totally.
And the untap ability is actually relevant.
It really is. That card
But-
is absurd.
Yeah, it's got the double strike, and
I'm assuming it attacked last turn to knock Timothy down as well.
yeah. Did Timothy just pass with all the mana up? Or it might just be Timothy's
I think
turn.
it's Timothy's turn right now.
Yeah.
And Samut is really just blanking everything that Timothy has going on.
What's funny is prior to the Mythic Rare being played, I was going to say black has lots of great defensive creatures. Even at common, you have the Wasteland Scorpion. You have the Dune Beetle, which does a pretty good job of blocking little things.
Yep.
And Soul Stinger. So black just has a ton of good ways. And then Semo just like,
Semo
haha,
just like-
nice cards.
Like cute.
Yeah.
I'll attack.
Oh,
All right. That is that a never to return?
that is
there?
a never to return.
Okay, so never to return from Timothy is going to put Samut in the bin.
Yeah,
I
now
wonder if maybe a Wandering Death or something from Chris can get that card back, but in the meantime, he's got work to do.
yeah, Chris still at a comfortable 24 here, but he does need to find a way to attack through that Bone Picker.
He could just attack into it.
He could.
You know,
He could.
I mean, it's a trade. It's not something he really would be happy about, but if he has reasonable follow-up plays, it may be correct to just do so.
Yeah.
He also could try to lean on the Kenra Charioteer, since it gives all your other creatures trample as well. That, you know, if he has some big creatures in his hand, he could just play those and just keep attacking over.
Right. He can choose to basically make a big attack with a bunch of large creatures.
Right.
And as they all have trample, you might be able to just kind of use that to just get Timothy dead, you know, and not have to worry about losing your big creatures to a Bone Picker.
Lots of ornery kudu on the battlefield in round 2 here for you and I, Paul.
Yeah.
It's a solid little common, and
Yep.
we've see a lot of play. Oh, it's going to get Essence scattered here by Timothy.
Oh, it looks like
Wow, you know what? This is interesting. I think that Christopher tried to bait out that Essence scatter.
it is game 2. He might have seen it game 1.
Yeah, because I think he's got a Manticore or something in hand. I couldn't quite see it, but I think he's got something more expensive and more powerful in his hand that he wanted to try to resolve next turn rather than the Ornery Kudu, which really isn't that great on this board.
No, it is not.
All right, here's a Cartouche of Knowledge, though, on the Baleful Amit. And even though the Amit's been shrunk down a fair bit, it's still going to be able to get in for a good amount of lifelink in the air here and make racing very difficult for Christopher.
Yeah, it's still a 4/3 flying lifelinker. That is really hard to race.
It's 3-powered now, though, right?
Well, it was a 3/2, and then the Cartouche of Knowledge.
Well, it starts out at 4-3. Then it was a 2-1.
Oh,
of
it
the
was
two
a 2-1,
counters.
right.
Yeah. Oh, but here's a Patra's Mark. Risky business. He's just going to run it right into Electrify, but who cares?
Yeah.
That's going to remove the counters.
Yeah, it's again a situation where
He
if
knows.
if Chris had Electrify, he would have electrified that Bone Picker and attacked.
Totally. Smart play there from Timothy, and oh boy, that's a big life swing right there. Let's see if Chris does have a big follow-up play. I do think he was trying to bait out something with that Ornery Kudu.
Yeah, I think that was a heads-up play, but because of the Cartouche of Knowledge and Hapatra's Mark, now Chris is just not going to be able to outrace that Baleful Amit.
Heck no. 5 lifelink in the air.
Yeah. Build your own Baneslayer.
No kidding.
Yeah, it does look like it's a Manticore of the Gauntlet here, but
Okay, so that's the card he was trying to protect and trying to get through.
right.
Well, it worked, but things went kind of awry for him on the other side. What is he thinking about here? He's got land and that Manticore of the Gauntlet in his hand.
One thing he could consider is play the Manticore pre-combat, maybe put a counter on the Charioteer, and then attack with the Charioteer so that the Manticore is bigger and he has a 5/4 threat on the board.
He assumes that Timothy will block, so he
Right.
would not have a place to put the counter otherwise.
Yeah, and I think Timothy is in a reasonable spot to choose to block there because he's going to be able to just outrace the Manticore with the Amit.
Definitely.
So he doesn't want Chris to gain his own life if the Charioteer just keeps attacking.
I looked up what an Amit is, by the way, Paul.
Is it some kind of large piggy beast?
You're close. There's no pig in there, though.
Okay.
So it's a mythical beast,
All right.
actual mythical beast, made up of 3 creatures.
It's uncommon, though.
That's true. It might be a mythic uncommon.
Okay.
3 different animals.
3 different animals.
Can you name them?
Okay. It's clearly a crocodile.
That's right. Head of a crocodile.
And it's not a pig?
No.
Buffalo.
No. Lion is one of them,
Okay. Oh, it's got the mane.
and hippopotamus is the other.
Okay, I see it now. That is just really weird looking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you see his?
How is this not a pig?
Do you see his flowing mane?
I do see the rich mane now. Yes. All right. I get. And it's kind of thick And so it's got the hippo body. All right. Crocodile demon. They forgot hippo.
No, it's on there.
No,
I mean,
in the creature
artwork.
type.
Oh,
in the
sure.
creature type.
Yeah.
It definitely missed hippo.
Crocodile, lion, hippo.
Yeah.
Probably wouldn't fit.
And Timothy choosing to be aggressive here. He's just like, I can race you.
And he absolutely can.
Yeah.
That life swing from the Baleful Ahmed in the air is just absurd at this point and making things incredibly difficult for Chris, like to the point that he's going to need to draw removal for that if he's going to have any chance to win this game.
Although the attack with the bone picker is still a little bit confusing because, again, I think Timothy wants to trade that bone picker with the large lifelinker that Christopher McCord has on the board.
Yes.
And so there must be either something else here or he maybe just wants to get aggressive with the flyers. But you're actually losing out on life by attacking with the bone picker and getting attacked back with the charioteer. Another manticore.
Yeah, another manticore is going to knock Timothy down to 14, but he does actually have a clean attack here with the charioteer.
Yeah,
and might as well send in the manticore as well.
And see, that's not a great block because there's the creatures are trampled. There has to be something.
Okay.
Okay.
Sure, Splendid Agony does make that into a trade, but he's still taking a decent amount of trample damage here.
And Chris is gaining 3 life still. So effectively, it's kind of negated the bone picker attack,
right,
and also dealt 3 damage.
Right, and he still has his big lifelinker alive on his side. So didn't work out beautifully here for Timothy. I mean, it wasn't a total loss, but you got to feel like he would have been better off.
But he still has a 5/4 flying lifelinker, so he's still winning.
He's still fine. Somehow, the Baleful Ahmed, even being made out of 3 different creatures, does not have flying. None of them give flying. It took a cartouche to get him in the air.
Yeah. They're all pretty, heavy-set ground creatures, so...
Indeed.
They should have trample, if anything.
Feldegriff?
Oh, yeah.
That has flying,
that does. That does.
It has wings. I don't know if it can actually fly.
I think you can make it fly. It does a lot of things.
All right. And in they come again. Once again, the bone picker staying aggressive.
Yeah,
it's just trading off damage, though. They're not particularly effectively, though there is a giant spider.
Okay.
And that can block.
So now the giant spider can just go in front of the charioteer and just kind of make them bounce off of each other, as it's now 3/3 with the -1/-1 counter.
Looks like a couple of lands in hand for Christopher.
Yeah.
This late game has not gone particularly well for him. He did get to resolve the Manticore. I mean, he did find another copy of one off the top of his library, so it wasn't a disaster, but he's also found 2 lands out of the last couple of turns, and he's been behind this whole stretch anyway. He's now facing lethal. He's going to have to attack here just to get himself to not be dead in the air. He'd still go to 1, though. Like, he is in a very precarious position.
Yeah, and so this attack kind of tells me that Christopher doesn't have a follow-up here.
Yeah.
Because otherwise you would think that Christopher would attack with both creatures.
That's right.
But if he attacked with both creatures, he would have gone to 9. Timothy would have taken some damage, and then Chris would have actually taken exactly 9 for lethal.
Yep.
Or 10, rather, sorry.
Still taking 8 in there. Another cartouche is going to seal the deal here. Chris shows him the land, and Timothy Vannon wins the match 2-1. And oh boy,
I'm still trying
Chris
to figure
had
out
some great stuff off the top of his library, but too little, too late.
I'm still trying to figure out the splashes. I think it was just straight Jund versus Sultai.
Oh, it was just straight Jund.
It was just straight Jund against straight Sultai.
All right. Yeah. Nothing like a greedy mana base.
Just play your powerful cards.
Little evolving wilds to maybe smooth things over. I can see that. Those type of decks have a hard time getting through a 9-round day 1 because the consistency issues usually do come up to bite you at some point. But sometimes your pool doesn't really give you much to work with, and you look at it and you say, if I build a 2-color deck, I am not going to day 2 this tournament. Like the tools just aren't here. So we're going to go for it.
Yeah. Just kind of play the Evolving Wild 6/6/5 mana base and just hope to get there.
Oh, God. I shudder when I think of it. But, yes, that does happen.
Magic back in the day, that's some, if you played Invasion Block, for example, that was a thing that you had to do.
Well, I didn't. So. And it looks like we've come in at a pretty bad position here for Dylan, who is up a game, but looks like he's either trading or losing most of his board here on these blocks just to try to stay alive.
We've got a 5/5 Curator of Mysteries and a 4/4 Indestructible Flyer on the battlefield. Dylan is basically just on chump block duty. Wow.
He's going to put up yet another flyer. Another lethal flyer, we should say. Kind of interesting. Andrew is from New Jersey. He's got a 6-digit DCI number.
Wow. That is old school.
Yeah. So for people that don't know what that means, can you explain to us why we would care how many digits his DCI number is?
When the DCI first started, basically kind of the first member, it's I think, did it start at 1?
Sure.
Yeah, it might have started. Okay, it started at 4 digits.
0001.
Yeah, it started at 4 digits, and then it just kept going up as more and more people signed up for the DCI. So often now you'll see people with, how many DCI numbers
10.
do you have? You have 10?
10.
I have 8.
And I got mine 7 years ago.
Yeah, and I got mine like 15 years ago. So to have a 6-digit DC, you need to have been playing for basically over 20 years.
Yeah, and that's what Andrew said. He said he's been playing about 20 years.
Rashad is giving us a stare down,
really,
so I'm assuming he's got a 4-digit DCI.
Human people could ever have a 6-digit DCI number.
Yeah,
is what we're getting to.
You have to be incredibly
ancient, like
just
really old, and probably have started Magic streaming or something like that. Yeah, Rashad does have a 6-digit DCI number. Now, on the other side of the table, Dylan, he started playing. Does this make him old school? See, I've lost frame of reference for this. He started playing an original Innistrad. He has been playing for 2 Innistrads worth plus of Magic. And for me, I'm like, oh, he's new. But that's not really new at this point.
No, that's the thing, right? Like, we've been playing this game for so long.
5-6
when I think
years ago.
somebody said I started an Innistrad, I'm like, oh, wow, you're a baby.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, no, he's actually just been following Magic for a very long time. I mean, compare that to kind of how much time people spend playing other games, right? They would have been off that game already.
Oh, totally.
Totally.
Magic's, it's very sticky in that way.
Right.
It's such a deep game with such a high ceiling to it that, when you get into it like this, you do tend to play for a while because it takes a long time just to kind of explore all the different things the game has to offer. And even then, once you kind of find your place in it, then there's a whole world within that. This is a good example. We're here at a limited GP, right? Sometimes people play a bunch of different types of Magic. Maybe they'll start out with Commander, or somebody will hand them a constructed deck of some sort, and eventually they become enlightened. And they find limited, right? And they're like, oh, drafting, this is where has this been my whole life?
Right.
But then you're just getting started, right? Because now you got to learn how to booster draft and how to figure it out and all the little details. And then boom, another set comes out and you're kind of into the flow of it.
Right, and then you start playing competitively.
Yeah.
And that's another thing, right? Because not only are you just playing kind of with the cards that you open in your booster packs, now you're trying to make these nice decks. Then you're trying to metagame, trying to figure out and then you play in the Pro Tour. There's just so many different levels.
Totally.
And that's how the game just kind of sucks you in, right?
It gets you.
It gets you good.
It's because it's so good, though. Right?
I started in Torment. I'm still here.
Yeah, totally. All right, we're going to get a game 3 between Andrew Schwimmer and Dylan Heisen here, and let's see. Is it going to be the 6-digit DCI or the 10-digit DCI number that's going to reign supreme here?
Well, 10 is a bigger number.
10 is a bigger number, but I think we prefer smaller here. That's a lot more experience.
Yeah. But it is sealed deck, like we said before. There are some pretty great rares. We actually haven't seen any yet, I don't think. But hint, they a lot of them cost 5 mana and a lot of them fly. Is that a Nissa?
You can see a Nissa from here?
You know what?
Are you absurd or what?
Maybe it wasn't. I guess it would be hard to kind of bottom a Nissa. Unless he doesn't have any forests. I think it was a Nissa. I'm going to go with that.
You're calling it?
After all of this, I'm going to find Dylan and ask him if he scried a Nissa to the bottom.
Hey, man, I believe you.
Wow, this not really coming out the gates on either side here. Let's talk about how sealed's a slow format, but
this is a very slow start.
Usually there's something on the board.
I asked in the chat, what set do you need to have started in before you're considered old school? They said if you've never
Onslaught?
played a white bordered card,
Okay,
you're not old school.
that's fair enough.
Then again, somebody also said gate crash. All right, let's get this thing rolling here, Andrew. What do you got?
Oh, he was saving
a
it.
Taw Crop Skirmisher is his first play on turn 4. Not super impactful. There's that.
It is
Forest
possible
for
both
Dylan.
sides were maybe keeping up counter magic, right? Blue does have Essence Scatter.
But you would play your Taw Crop Skirmisher into it, would you not?
Yeah, you would.
Please do. Ooh. Oh, how about Bounty of the Luxa here?
This
For
card is
Dylan. Oh, it gets censored. He did have counter magic. What a bean.
No. I mean, he was so excited.
Sweet.
He's like, you know
my
what?
God.
I think he has Essence Scatter. I'm not going to play a creature this turn.
Oh,
I'm going to play my 4-mana bomb.
what a beating.
And especially in Steel Deck, that is a bomb, right? Because Steel Deck is slower.
It generates
this just
so much advantage.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I feel sick to my
The
stomach.
card and the mana, it actually synergizes very well with itself.
Plus, there's no worse feeling than getting anything censored.
Oh yeah.
Oh, my God.
Believe me, I've been testing a good amount of standard as well. Getting censored is always the worst.
Oh, man. Dylan's like, he can't have
Yeah.
cancel here. I'll just run it out. Even Initiate. So much less exciting than
Oh,
the Bounty
yeah.
of the Luxa. Oh, man.
Yeah,
But
and
it actually does look pretty good here.
Right.
At least it can block and stem the bleeding here.
Yeah, and it seemed like a perfectly fine play, right? A lot of the times, you when you play against an opponent, they're pressuring your life total. Sometimes you can't play the bounty on turn 2, right? Because they just go 2-drop, 3-drop. But in this case, Andrew had nothing on the board, so it's like, all right, this is the best time to just drop this bounty of the Luxa.
Oh, I would run it out there for sure. Negate is not in this format. You know, you
Yeah.
can.
There was
that
one
was
card.
the only card. Yeah.
Andrew just on a straight blue-white Skies deck, it looks like.
Well, he's kind of making it into a Skies deck, isn't he?
Right. Traditionally, kind of blue-white it does have a bunch of flyers, but it's also kind of the embalm color combination. You have a lot of embalm cards from both blue and white.
Yep. But he's like you said, he's turning it into a Skies deck thanks to Cartouche of Knowledge.
Yeah.
He's played 2 of those this game already, and it's looked fantastic. The card's really good, particularly effective in a green-blue deck. You haven't lived until you've attacked with the greatest sandworm with that thing on it.
The Cartouche of Knowledge.
Yeah, just 8.
or the helpless feeling when it gets played on a scaled behemoth.
Yeah. Oh,
7/8 hexproof flyer. Come on.
Forget it.
Does look like Andrew's kind of flooding out here, though. If his only play after the Cartouche was just a fan bearer.
Yeah, it does look like that. There's a Hooded Brawler there for Dylan. And a Bitterblade Warrior. So he's got some beats potentially coming in, but he's behind here and kind of in an awkward spot. The good news for him is that he's not under immense pressure. It's only 2 in the air as it sits.
Yeah.
And the Winter Priest, isn't exactly a great beatdown card. And the Fan Bearer is going to be able to keep back one of these attackers.
And Andrew Schwimmer has
Skirmisher's going to come back.
Yeah,
too.
and the Skirmisher just does a good job of just kind of brick walling basically the Bitter Blade Warrior. Like, that's a trade he'll happily take. And then he has, of course, the Fan Bearer for the Hooded Brawler. I'm a big fan of the Hooded Brawler, though. 3-mana, 5/4.
Hoodie B.
Hoodie B.
You like him, huh? I like it
I don't
too.
know if I like the nickname, but
No, but you like the card?
yeah, the card.
I like the card too.
Yeah. Just attacks through all the kind of many of the good defensive creatures. It's like nice Dune Beetle.
Now it's going to earn a tap down here. Does Dylan want to attack? He would be offering a trade for the Taw Crop Skirmisher token. Seems like a bad trade for him, so
Yeah.
I doubt he'll make it. Yeah,
Unless
he's
he
not
has
going to.
more ground creatures that are X2s that he wants to maybe attack with on the following turn.
Yeah. Well, even Initiate number 2 here for Dylan. And he's got a companion too. So, sure.
Yeah. Dylan's got a bunch of decent creatures on the board. Andrew Schwimmer's 2/4 Flying Anointed Priest actually does a pretty good job of blocking at least 2 of the creatures on the board right now. And he does have the Fan Bearer. And I think he has a Gale Strike as well. Mythic Rare.
What do we got?
It's a Kefnet. the Mindful. And this is a card that, in limited, it is a bit slow. It costs a lot of mana
really
to get ahead. But I think in sealed deck, could actually be pretty good.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
You know, the times when I've seen Kefnet be the best, strangely, are when they played it on turn 3 and were very aggressive with it.
Oh, sure. Just start attacking.
They just tapped out the next turn and just drew the cards and were like, attack you for 5. It's a 5/5 flying indestructible. Like, you deal with this, and I'm just not going to play any spells until you do. And that feels weird because it feels so all in, but it ends the game very quickly if they don't have an answer.
Absolutely. It's also just a pretty good defensive card too, right? If you have 5 cards in hand and you just pass with a Kefnet,
They just
you just can't attack you.
Yeah,
They cannot attack you. Actually, when I first read the card, I thought it was really bad because I thought it forced you to return a land to your hand to draw a card, but it doesn't.
That's a May
That's a
ability.
May ability,
Yeah.
so that which is obviously very good for it because then you can block with 5 cards in hand.
And it is slow, though. You are right. Paying
Yes.
4 mana to draw a card and get yourself up to 7 is it's a chore.
Right. But again, in sealed deck, people don't have the ideal curves. When you draft an aggressive deck, you want like 6 2-drops, right? In sealed deck, you might just get 4. You might get 3. So you're going to have more time.
Looks like Andrew's deciding to prioritize his life total more than getting Kefnet online and drawing cards. So he's going to go ahead and just use the 2 of the 4 mana he had available for his Fan Bearer to save himself for 3 damage rather than dump 4 mana into Kefnet.
I see. And he even attacked with the Anointer Priest. So he's not trying to play a long game, which, Dylan is at 11. So maybe he's just trying to get in there with the Flyers. He does have access to, let's see, he's got 7 lands on the board. Next turn, he's going to draw a card, putting him up to 4 cards. Then he can activate Kefnet, putting him up to 6 cards. Then he can play a land, activate it again, and that will put him to 7 cards.
Okay.
So he can actually attack with Kefnet next turn, although that would basically be going pretty all in because he would not be able to use the Fan Bearer anymore. But he has had a pretty healthy 15 life here.
He is. Looks like Dylan's going to embalm the Aven Initiate, so he's now got 2 of those on the battlefield. But it does feel like Andrew's in a really good position here, right? Like, he can decide whether he wants to be quick or slow with this, how he wants to approach it.
Dylan does have a pretty good board presence now.
He does.
So
3 power, 3 power, 3 power, and then taking a turn off next
Right.
turn, but still another 3 or 5 power. It's a lot of power.
yeah, I understand that Andrew did have kind of a game plan, but of course you always want to be able to kind of adjust that game plan based on how the games go. For example, if he just plays a land and says go, Dylan just can't attack him.
Right.
Then he can draw 2 cards and that's, just get
See,
further and further ahead.
And I like that game plan better than the one that he's employing here.
Right.
Remember, the Anointer Priest is a 2/4 with flying. That's perfect for this board as a
Yes,
blocker. It blocks
exactly.
the 2 flyers and the companion on the ground.
Ooh, okay. So this makes a
Seraph
little
of the
more
Suns?
sense.
Sure, it's okay. It feels risky though. Like if that Seraph gets blinked or, maybe takes a compulsory rest or something, or whatever, a bounce spell or something, he's going to get jammed on.
Yeah, it is pretty aggressive. Also, Andrew chose not to play his land, which it feels like when you have a Kefnet in play, that's all you want to be doing, just playing your lands, because you can always bounce them whenever you want
Right.
to kind of fill up your hand. There's a card I saw in Dylan's hand. It's a card we talked about, the card that you want in blue-green ramp decks.
Oh, I know what it is then. I didn't see it yet, but I know exactly what it is. Does it cost 8 mana?
It might cost 8 mana.
How much mana does he have right now?
He's on
6.
6. Oh, okay. 7. There was
7.
one hiding.
Oh, God. Sandworm Convergence.
See, Bounty of the
just
Luxo
one?
was just getting that sensor out of his hand early.
Oh, my goodness. Well, let's see if he does it. Because that would be an absolute shutdown card in this position. In fact, unless Andrew has some type of answer for it via, a cancel or
a lay claim.
or a lay claim,
Yeah.
the game ends.
Right.
Like he just does not have a way to get through that.
Yeah, I've had opponents just concede on the spot, and that gives you a little more information too, because it's just
Yeah, you shouldn't
yeah.
do that. Yeah, you should play it out and pretend like you're trying to top deck to something. But
right.
Sure. It's what we call a non-lethal attack. And now Dylan, after having drawn the Sandworm, knows, look, I just need to survive. Like he
Right.
just wants to try to buy himself as much time for lands as he possibly can.
There must be a combat trick here, or some kind of
From Andrew,
effect.
you mean?
Yeah, Andrew's being really aggressive with that Anointed Priest.
He really is. He's just chipping it for 2 every. It's like he's started attacking with it and has not considered.
Right.
Maybe I shouldn't.
Oh, and I know what he's going to do. He's going to tap a creature and then use Gale Strike
Sure.
to bounce.
I mean, that's tricky business, but it's a nice play.
It's a cool play, but I think again that's being really overly aggressive on this board. He could just be attacking with the 4/4 indestructible every turn, for example. Leave the 2/4 back, and then if Dylan has any crazy combat trick, you still have the ability to tap down a creature on
Yes.
your opponent's turn,
Yes.
and also bounce something.
See, I like taking a defensive stance from Andrew's position because A, he's in a good spot to do so, and B, he's got Kefnet. He can
Yeah.
just draw cards.
I just want to draw cards with Kefnet.
Oh, did you see that from Dylan? He looked at his card like, is this a land? And then he like put it back down like, no.
Yeah, and Dylan is currently at 5 life. So if he plays the flyer, Andrew can main phase tap it down and attack for lethal. So he might need to cycle.
Is he dead?
He will be dead. So I think he's going to need to cycle to find, I don't know, some kind of answer to one of the flyers maybe. God. This will happen when you play an 8-mana spell.
It
right?
does. It totally does. It's supposed to happen that you don't always get to cast your 8-mana spell. But gosh, it's frustrating from Dylan to look at this board state and know if he just slams Sandworm Convergence.
Also, we just want to see a Sandworm
Of course
Convergence
we
in play.
do. we were talking about it last night.
Yeah. There's a lot of very powerful 7 and 8 mana cards in this format. You have that. You have Cruel Reality.
Yes. Love
Kinda-
that card too,
yeah,
by
that
the way.
was also pretty insane in sealed deck. Yeah, I think if he just plays the Shimmer Scale Drake, he's dead on board. So he likely just has to cycle it, and I don't know what he's looking for. Maybe a stinging shot or something.
He found a Trial of Knowledge, if I see that correctly.
Okay. Does that give him any
Leave that
outs?
green up in case
Right.
you've got Stinging Shot, man.
I don't know what he could do with blue mana.
What could he do with blue plus a
If he draws
land?
like land plus Winds of
Bounce?
Rebuke.
Yeah, something like that could work.
Nope.
He drew a couple of lands.
Oh, is that a
and-
Winds of Rebuke?
What was that other spell? I couldn't quite see it.
No, maybe it was a top crop. I'm not sure. I see a blue card.
Maybe it's Winds of Rebuke. If it is, that's what he needed.
Actually, thinking about it, the art's kind of similar.
To Talkrop Skirmisher.
Yeah.
Well,
Oh, now the Desperation Attack.
that could be what this is.
I guess everything flies. And he can untap something. He can actually untap a land,
Yeah.
which, maybe he has a
Yeah.
3-mana card.
Yeah. Okay. This is a non-lethal attack, though it is a lot of damage.
Oh, he didn't
He
untap
did not
it.
untap anything.
Okay, that's...
It was a
all right.
Talkrop Skirmisher game. All right. Oh, so close for Dylan. So close to getting that convergence down.
If I was Andrew, I would just be untapping so fast. Oh, wait.
He wants
Gotta
to cycle a River
cycle.
Serpent first. Yeah, this one's over.
Yeah. Come on, attack with Kefnet at least.
Nope.
Oh, he can do it now. He's got the 8
Yeah,
mana.
he could,
He
but
could.
just kill him.
He's running the numbers.
He's like, you're tapped out, right? You're at 5, right? I've got 6 power in the air.
He's
right?
even got a decision paralysis, I think.
What is going on? He does, but jam.
He's got to completely tap out his
Is he
opponent.
running up the score?
Oh
What's
no,
going
he's drawing cards with the Kefnet. He wants to attack with Kefnet for the win.
on? All right. I guess you got to do it.
You gotta. You gotta win with your mythic rare. Just attack with your mythic
He's got
rare.
plenty
maybe?
of cards to do it with, and now
Okay.
he gets the jam, and that's going to do it. Dylan politely taking his medicine there, but it is the 6-digit DCI that gets the job done. Andrew Schwimmer is going to take this one down, defeating Dylan Heisen in what was actually a really exciting game. That was a fun game.
Yeah. The Bounty of the Luxa blowout.
Oh, yeah.
1 mana away from casting Sandworm Convergence to stabilize.
Oh, he needed it.
I mean,
He
it's
was
not
so close.
clear that Andrew had an out. We didn't see it.
No.
Yeah.
No way. Yeah, Dylan's win percentage goes from like 1 to like probably 90 or 85.
Yeah, depending on whether Andrew has.
Yeah,
an out to
because
it.
if he does, then he's got 2 or 3 turns to find it probably while he can still
right.
stabilize.
He still has to draw.
Yeah, but
he does have a
kept netting.
Kefnet.
Yeah, so it's like really crazy.
Yeah.
All right, that's going to do it for round 2. We'll be back right after these messages. Welcome back to coverage here at Grand Prix Richmond. That's Paul Chian. I'm Marshall Sutcliffe, and we're bringing you coverage of the GP all day here. We've got sealed deck to start things off. Of course, tomorrow we're going to be doing a little booster draft. We'll be bringing you that as well, alongside Maria and Jacob all weekend for you. So sit back, relax, and enjoy this. We've got some time-shifted magic for you. Let's head down to that right now. All right, welcome back to Time Walk Magic here. We've got Alfred Bennett and Ryan Sachs. Let's see what Game 3 brings us here, Paul. We've got, we've got a cat.
Yeah.
I
know one of the players just got a glory bringer going and won Game 1.
Yeah, it looks like we can see that probably that's on Alfred's side there. Wow, quick start here for Ryan. It's like the old 1-2 punch, though. He can't even attack with his one drop here.
Yeah. Admittedly, I have not been overly impressed with the Sacred Cat.
I have been duly unimpressed by the Sacred Cat.
I was hoping to see it do good things. I know LSV rated it pretty highly.
Yeah, he gave it an A- on the set review. He loved that card. Right up there.
A-?
Yeah, right up there with Glorybringer.
Wow.
But I did not, yeah.
You were not tricked?
No. Looks like Ryan's going to go ahead and trade off, and there was no exert trigger there.
And Ryan debating whether or not he wants to double block, as both of his creatures do have Embalm. So if maybe Alfred has some kind of combat trick, it's not that bad. But all the
Also,
combat
he could
tricks,
just Mize a life here.
that is true. But if Alfred has something like a Mighty Leap, a lot of the combat trick, like that's one of the cards he could have here. Ryan would lose both of his creatures. It's still a cost to actually embalm the cards.
It is.
Ah, but it played around Brute Strength.
Yeah, that worked out beautifully for him. Nice block there from Ryan.
Yeah.
He says, you're going to take 3. Your creature's going to take 3. I'm going to gain 1.
That was a great block. The Brute Strength was probably. I think Alfred just
Ryan
kind of
takes 1 here. Yeah.
I think Alfred just kind of assumed that his creature would live.
Yeah, that was a really smart block there from Ryan. Hey, if you're going to play a cat, you might as well get value out of it, right?
And that's why it's an A-, folks. You see the speed at which Ryan is flicking his cards.
Well, I
that's
think
just
we do have it sped up slightly.
No. I was just gonna say that's just Brian Kibler when he normally plays.
That much is true. We did have Kibler on once, and people thought we sped it up, and we did. I'm not kidding. They really did. I'm like, no, that's real.
No, that's just him.
Yeah.
And Ryan draws his mouth. Oh, so either side could have the Glory Bringer.
That's true. Red Crop Spearmaster looking to get in for a nice chunk of damage here. Is it going to be exerted or not? Yes.
It's opting not to go with the trade here. You can play 2 things this turn. You can play the Minotaur Sure Shot, but I believe he did not embalm the Sacred Cat.
Why is he leaving up the mana? Does he have a Jeru's Resolve in his hand?
It doesn't look like it, but maybe you just 1 mana 1/1 lifelink cat is all you need. Maybe just
you don't even ever embalm it?
Yeah. There's basically 2 things. Either he forgot, or maybe he has Binding Mummies in his deck, like some large number.
You'd still rather just have
probably
a creature, right? Yeah.
Just looking at the contents of Ryan's hand, though, his deck's got a really nice mana curve. Lots of low drops. Yeah,
Minotaur Sure Shot here says, well, I'm the one who can activate.
Right.
You can't, so I'm going to get in for a couple of damage.
Alfred does not want to just lose his creature for 2 mana.
Ryan's doing math, the tapping on the table.
Finger pointy math.
Yeah, that's telltale sign that math is being done. Those who serve.
That's a shortcut for math.
Indeed.
Yeah. He does have kind of an interesting decision. He has both of the 2-drops in his hand are pretty good.
And he's played the Captain here, which does threaten a lot of damage next turn. You can see that Ryan has built a very aggressive deck. And, we could get that feeling from when he did play that Sacred Cat. Again, not a super desirable card, but when you're trying to get as much power on the board as quickly as possible, it can be a card that you want.
Yeah, if you're trying to go wide, if you have stuff like Trial of Solidarity or even, Catcher's Name, you want to curve out. I think this is the Sacred Cat has more of a place in something like a white black zombies deck, because there you can actually use the Embalm to trigger your mummies.
Yep.
But it already did do some work in this game.
It's also sat in the graveyard for a while.
That's also true.
Bad cat. Second Thresher Lizard here for Alfred Bennett, though he is not at the requisite 1 or fewer cards in hand.
Was that not exerted? Or did he?
It was, but now it's not.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he should have taken the thing off last turn.
Yeah, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so then play. Yeah. That makes a lot more sense, because I thought the Spearmaster was exerted. So that if that was the case, you might have wanted to play the Pathmaker Initiate and then set up for a bigger attack on the following turn.
Right.
What's going on here? I think that's sorcery speed.
It
right?
is definitely sorcery speed. So I think Alfred maybe wanted to try to use his land there, but that's not possible. I think Ryan reminded him of that.
Yeah.
And Ryan is still trying to figure out exactly what kind of attacks he'd like to line up here.
So Ryan could have chosen to attack with everything, but then basically all 3 creatures on the right would basically just trade with all of Alfred's creatures. So I think, he's setting up a big turn here. 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, that's 6. Math checks out. The finger math paying off.
Yeah, he had enough to embalm both of his creatures in the yard.
But the thing is, if this was Ryan's game plan, he probably should have played the Pathmaker Initiate last turn instead of the 3/2 because that allows him to actually get through for more unblockable damage on this turn.
Absolutely. Yeah, the Minotaur Sure Shot, a nice combination there with the Pathmaker Initiate, for example. Now, as it stands, Ryan only has the one mountain, but still, 2 damage, 2 or 3 damage can matter in a big way.
Right.
And instead, the captain's just sat there on the battlefield, not doing anything for the last couple of turns.
Yeah, I can't really imagine Ryan not going for an attack here.
Oh yeah, we're going to see a big attack in the next turn or two here from Ryan Sachs.
Did he pass? What?
No, he hasn't even drawn a card.
Yeah, okay. Suppose the Quarry Hauler will do. Well, you could put the Quarry Hauler in front of the life-linking cat, but then everything else is going to have at least 3 power. So basically, that would mean that Alfred would lose all of his creatures. So let's see how he's going to line this up here. Basically, making the blocks.
He's just.
I don't think he's
assume that all of these blocks are going to be the way that it goes.
I don't think he's going to put the Quarry Hauler in front of the Minotaur Sure Shot, but yeah. You would probably put the Thresher list.
That is optimistic.
It's like mind control. It's like mind slavering your opponent, right? He's just taking.
I've seen people do that and then have them just go, no.
Yeah, that's not my block.
That's not it.
Basically, after Alfred makes these blocks, he's probably just going to be left with a Quarry Hauler in play and trade off a bunch of the other cards.
Yeah, but a lot of cards will die here from Ryan as well, and he's pretty firmly out of gas.
Yes, but this will also still be able to sneak in 2 creatures.
Which is a significant amount of damage.
With a minimum of 6 damage, right, if the cat gets blocked.
Mm-hmm.
So he'll have basically 2 2-power creatures along with the Spearmaster in play. I mean, Ryan could also choose to be kind of conservative and just make the Sure Shot unblockable and attack for 3, I guess. But I kind of just want to attack with everything.
I think Ryan wants to, but he's still trying to work out if that actually works out in his favor or what actually happens. This board did get a little bit clogged up here, and there's a lot of different blocking options for Alfred, so...
Yeah, and if he wants to make this attack, he should probably make the Sure Shot unblockable, because that's the one creature he probably doesn't want to lose.
Doesn't want to lose, yeah.
Okay, and ultimately he's like, all right, I'm sending everything in.
So Ryan, after going through all the options, has decided to just ship them all in there, as we say, the whole team.
Then Alfred's got to figure out those blocks. Should I make those blocks that you suggested, Ryan? You seem like an honest fella.
Yeah. Well, Alfred, at only 10 life, he is obliged to make a ton of blocks here.
Yeah. And I think Alfred's best creature is the Quarry Hauler. If he wants a creature to kind of survive combat, he can put it in front of the cat and then basically just try to trade off with the 3 big creatures that Ryan has on the board. I would look to probably get rid of the Sure Shot,
the Captain,
and the Initiate, because that one actually has some utility as well. And Alfred's going to go down to 4 here.
Yeah, remember Ryan also has the Retcroft Spearmaster sitting there too.
Yeah, but Alfred does have the land that he can use to finish it off on the following turn.
Indeed. And he'll want to do that, though. He has been a little bit crimped on mana. Alfred pushed the Sacred Cat aside like, we're not blocking that. No respect.
So I guess he's just looking to get the big creatures off the board here. Wait, how many cards does Alfred? Alfred has 2 cards in hand.
He's only got 2. And he's only got a colorless mana available, so...
Oh, and he's opting to take extra damage here.
He's not blocking with one of his Thresher Lizards? Is that what we're seeing?
Yeah. Huh.
And what? Oh, Ryan has 1 card in hand that he's drawn. He did actually...
Wow.
But this means that Alfred's going to be dangerously low on life now.
Yeah, he just took 8 damage. He goes down to 2 here.
Right. I don't see how he's going to get out of this.
Yeah.
He definitely needed a block with that.
He needs to draw like
Thresher
a sweltering Suns.
yeah, that
that
would be a
would do
good
it.
one.
I guess Heaven to Earth would also work.
How about Ornery Kudu? Does
The
that work for you,
benefaction-
Paul?
I think he has a benefaction of Ronus, so maybe he can get lucky.
Can't find what he needs with that. And that's going to do it. Ryan Sachs is going to win this match 2-1. And he's going to improve to 2-0 here at GP Richmond. We'll be back with more Magic after these messages.